Scotty Bowman had the green light all the time, and you go look at his career, now a Hall of Famer, that's what he was allowed. He was turned loose all the time. I love that point.
You talk about the challenge on the forecheck. One of those forecheckers is Peter Holland, who's with Mark Masters.
Peter, what do you got to do to reestablish yourself in this league lineup?
Just do the things that I did well to get myself to this level. Just continue playing hard, using my line mates well, and just spending time in the other team's end.
You come back and you get a goal right away a couple nights ago. What does that do to your confidence?
Well, it feels good, obviously, to come back in the lineup and then to help contribute right away, get the team on the board. It obviously feels good, so I just need to build off that.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, lots more ahead from Nashville. I want to send a quick hello out to one of our loyal viewers. Tim McFadden is a firefighter from Vaughan, Ontario, who is also a massive Leafs fan, going through a tough battle right now. Firefighters, much like hockey players, they're a family, and his family is behind him, and so are we. So all the best to Tim. We've heard how tough you are. Keep on battling. We'll continue here on the pregame show as we get you set for the Leafs and the Predators from Nashville. Just ahead. There's David Poyle, one of the guys who is championing bigger nets. We'll let him make his case next.
Dream car. That first real drive. On your own. Just you, your Mazda 3, and the road. Planting its feet in the corners. Heavy on drills in the curves. You're driving fun. You're unstoppable. Well, almost. The Mazda 3 with exhilarating Skyactiv technology. Because driving matters.
What is the secret to Toyo's winter traction? Advanced tread design? Or sight? Neck grip? What really makes our tires different? We've got nuts. Toyo Upsilk winter tires use purified crushed walnut shells. They act like spikes that bite into any slippery surface. Get the gripping details at toyohasnuts.ca. Toyo tires, driven to perform, especially in our winters.
Ask your doctor. It's all here. Every piece of equipment, built and designed to get the very best out of every situation. Introducing the 2016 Mazda CX-3. With predictive, high-active, all-wheel drive for absolute confidence on any surface. Because driving matters.
Nazem Kadri, 63 shots on goal, the most for a Leaf through this span of the season since the turn of the century, and yet just one goal. Although he's hardly alone, scoring down in the National Hockey League. This is the average total goals per game over the last 50 years. We've taken sort of 5-year increments. You see it spikes in the crazy 80s, another mini spike coming out of the lockout 2004-2005, but now down to 5.3, almost the lowest point in a half century, leading many to call for bigger nets, and one of them is this gentleman, the general manager of the Nashville Predators, David Poyle. After watching that 7-5 game that you guys won against Ottawa, highest scoring game in the NHL, have you changed your mind at all?
A little bit, yes. Again, when we talk about these bigger nets, I think it's really important that everybody doesn't go off the cliff, so to speak. I mean, to me, the bigger nets is a last resort. I'm really happy what's happened in the last 48 hours from the general managers meetings. We've had so many people talk about it, from coaches to players. And a lot of goaltenders have kind of weighed in, and I've noticed that a lot of them have said that they really feel that they could tailor their equipment and make it a little bit smaller. So I think there's a lot of other things to do before going to the bigger nets. But as a guardian of the game, and the fact like some of the graphics that you're showing with the scoring going down, I think we have to pay attention to that.
And a lot of people are skeptical because they tried to shrink the goaltending equipment before and it failed. So let's stay with that last resort mentality. You have said the NHL has become a 3-2 league where you'd like to see it as a 4-3 league. if it came down to that, which you are open to, how much bigger than the 6x4 we have right now do you think the nets would have to go?
Well, before I answer that, let me just, that is my opinion. So if we're a little bit 5+ in goals a game, I would like to have that 4-3 league. But I'd like to know what everybody else wants. If the case is that everybody wants to have 7 goals in a game or what have you, then I think we've got to, make some changes. If everybody else is happy with that, then maybe it's status quo. But even before we talk about the bigger, I've heard suggestions in the last couple of weeks on making the goalpost a little bit smaller, or making the goalpost so when the puck hits the goalpost, the puck goes in. If that was the case, that might be the solution right there, and you would have to revolutionize the game, if you will, by making a bigger net. Having said that, to answer your question, if you remember a few years ago, we had these camps in Toronto, sort of a development camp to look at off-the-wall type of stuff, and we put in bigger nets. I think they were 6 inches higher and 6 inches wider. We just had it for a little bit, and I was one of the people that was in the stands, and I didn't even notice the difference. What it would do for sure, talking to our goaltending people, if the net was taller, say 6 inches taller, it would bring the goalies up on their feet a little bit more instead of being down flat. So obviously that would make a substantial difference.
Yeah, that's a radical size. Some people are just talking about an inch or an inch and a half. And you said the goalies have noticed. You might not notice from the stands, but a guy like Jonathan Quick, who says, quoted, "It's ridiculous to make them bigger." How do you respond to that?
Well, I think what Jonathan Quick also said, he says there's a lot of room to make the equipment smaller, and I think I know we failed before, but we've got to try again. And Kay Whitmore at the NHL office, he's got a lot of good ideas, but he's got to get together, if you will, with the manufacturers, and he's got to get some cooperation with the goaltending fraternity. I'm on the competition committee meeting. Corey Snyder is the goalie that's on that. Corey Snyder has some really good ideas. He's got some really good thoughts, and I think with leadership coming from Corey and some of the goaltenders, we can get this done.
David Poyle, good luck to your team tonight, and it's certainly a topic that's divided hockey fans. We'll see if it divides the panel. Simple question, bigger nets, yes or no? Let's start with Jeff.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to start with the goaltender's equipment, and then the second thing I'm going to look at is how to draw more penalties. And to that point, I've watched a lot of games in the last couple of weeks where it seems like the referees are allowing the hooking and holding in the corners and all over the ice. They've got to fix that. When the lockout ended, the one I was involved in, you touched the guy, you were in the penalty box. They got to kind of get back to that.
Last resort.
Yeah.
Shrink the goalies first, and then maybe go.
But you understand the skepticism with that, because they tried it and nothing happened. They don't look any different.
Well, it's going to happen now because they're going to be scrutinized. That's why.
I'll say no, but you can't say no, because if you say we're not going to shrink the nets, then you lose your leverage with the goaltenders, which is exactly it. You want the goaltender equipment small. It's not going to be, even smaller goalie equipment is not going to be a panacea. There's not going to be 8 or 9 goals a game, because the goaltenders are too good. The coaching's too good. But you need to do the right thing. Make the goalie equipment smaller and try to leave the nets.
One former panelist back with us tonight. Another one is Peter Laviolette, now coaching the Nashville Predators, and he's with Mark Masters.
Peter, team coming off a 7-5 win. The players were saying maybe a bit more wide open than they would have preferred. What sort of adjustments would you like to see tonight?
Well, we like the wide open one way. Yeah, the wide open going one way is good. We certainly would like to tighten up a little bit the other way. There's a couple things that happened. I wouldn't say we gave up that many chances. It's just that we gave up some bad ones. We gave up 2 on the PK, 1 shorthanded, and a couple of breakaways. And when those things happen, you don't like it. So there's some things that we can do to tighten it up defensively.
Leafs got off to a rough start. They seem to have stabilized a bit lately. What sort of opponent are you expecting tonight?
Well, it could be our hardest working game of the year. It might be our hardest fought puck battle, puck contested game of the year. So we've got to make sure we're ready to work first and foremost.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff Sandry's going to drop by with a Sports Center update. We'll check in on Big Z and the Bruins taking on Colorado, Washington, and Philly, as well in action early highlights for you, plus why Ryan Miller is mad at Ray. You can't be mad at Ray.